I will never forget last Christmas Eve. The memory is burned into my mind like a brand. I knelt down in front of everyone I loved holding a small diamond ring in a velvet box. My heart pounded as I looked up at Stephanie, the woman I thought I would spend forever with. Everyone around us was smiling their phones out to capture the moment. Then Stephanie looked down at the ring. Her face changed. What happened next was something I never could have imagined. She spat directly in my face, called my ring pathetic, and walked out. That single moment changed my entire life. Before I dive into what happened after that humiliating night, I want to ask you something. Where are you watching this from? Drop your location in the comments below. And if you are ready to hear how one terrible moment became the best thing that ever happened to me, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, what comes next will show you exactly why sometimes the worst betrayal can lead to the greatest freedom. Stephanie and I had been together for 3.5 years. We met at a tech conference in Seattle back when I was still figuring out my career path. I was working as a software engineer for a mid-sized company, and she was climbing the ladder in marketing. The first time I saw her, she was giving a presentation about digital strategy. She was confident, articulate, and had this energy that drew everyone in. After her talk, I worked up the courage to introduce myself at the networking mixer. We hit it off immediately. Those early days felt perfect. We spent weekends hiking through the Cascades, trying new restaurants in the city, and watching indie films at the old theater downtown. Stephanie was smart and ambitious. She challenged me intellectually and pushed me to be better. My family adored her. My mom would always ask when Stephanie was coming over for dinner. My older brother David and his wife Linda treated her like she was already part of the family. I remember our trip to Yellowstone for our 2nd anniversary. We hiked to the Grand Prismatic Spring, and Stephanie laughed so hard when I slipped in the mud that I could not help but laugh too. Or her 30th birthday, when I surprised her with tickets to see her favorite band. She cried happy tears and told me I was the best thing in her life. I genuinely believed I had found the one, the woman I would build a future with. But around 6 months before that Christmas, something started to shift. It was subtle at first. Stephanie began making comments about money more frequently. She would mention how her friend Jessica's boyfriend just bought her a brand new BMW. Then she would glance at my Honda Civic, the one I had been driving since college, and sigh. Once she said, "Do not you think it is time for an upgrade?" I laughed it off, thinking she was joking. But she was not smiling. Her complaints grew. She started calling my apartment too small, even though it was a decent 1-bedroom in a good neighborhood. She would scroll through Instagram, showing me pictures of her coworkers' homes and expensive vacations. "This is what success looks like," she would say. I tried to brush it off. Work had been stressful for her lately. Maybe she was just venting. Then came the dinner party. It was early November, and some friends had invited us over. Throughout the night, Stephanie could not stop talking about a new senior VP at her company. She mentioned his Rolex at least 3 times. She talked about his vacation home in Aspen. Every story somehow circled back to how impressive this guy was. I felt a knot forming in my stomach, but I stayed quiet. I did not want to seem insecure. Stephanie also started refusing activities we used to love. When I suggested hiking one Saturday, she wrinkled her nose. "I do not want to get all sweaty and dirty. That is not really Instagram worthy, is it?" When I proposed our usual Friday night pizza and movie routine, she said, "Can we go somewhere nicer? I am tired of cheap dates." Each comment stung, but I kept telling myself she was just growing, wanting better things. I could give her that right. I just needed to work harder, earn more, prove myself. By November, I had made up my mind. I was going to propose. Despite the tension, I loved her. I convinced myself that marriage would stabilize everything. Once we were engaged, once she knew I was committed, things would go back to how they used to be. I started saving aggressively. I cut back on everything. No more eating out for lunch. I canceled my gym membership and worked out at home. For 3 months, I squirreled away every spare dollar. By mid-December, I had enough. I went to a jeweler downtown and found a beautiful ring. It was a round-cut diamond, .8 carats, set in white gold. It cost me just under $5,000. That might not sound like much to some people, but it represented 3 months of sacrifice. The jeweler told me it was a quality stone, brilliant and clear. I held the box in my hands and felt a surge of pride. This was it. This was the symbol of my love and commitment. I called David to tell him my plan. We met for coffee on a rainy December afternoon. I showed him the ring, and he whistled low. "That is beautiful, man. She is going to love it." But then he paused. "Are you sure about this? I mean, really sure? She is the right one." I bristled a little. "Of course I am sure. I love her." David nodded slowly. "Okay, if you love her, go for it. Just wanted to check." I decided to propose on Christmas Eve. My parents hosted a gathering every year, a cozy get-together with about 15 people. Family, a few close friends, warm lights, the smell of gingerbread, and carols playing softly in the background. It felt like the perfect setting. Romantic, intimate, surrounded by the people who mattered most. I imagined Stephanie's face lighting up everyone, clapping and cheering. It would be a moment we would remember forever. On December 24th, I could barely focus on anything. My hands shook as I got dressed that evening. I put on my best suit, the charcoal gray one I wore to job interviews. I practiced my proposal speech in front of the bathroom mirror, at least 5 times. My voice cracked twice. I kept the ring box in the inner pocket of my vest pressed against my chest. Every few minutes I would touch it just to make sure it was still there. David knew about the plan. He gave me a reassuring nod when I arrived at my parents' house. The place looked magical. My mom had gone all out with decorations. White lights twinkled on the Christmas tree. Red and gold ornaments hung from every branch. The fireplace crackled, and the scent of cinnamon and pine filled the air. About 15 people milled around laughing and talking. My dad was telling one of his terrible dad jokes. Linda was helping my mom in the kitchen. Greg, my best friend from college, clapped me on the back. "Big night, huh?" he whispered. I nodded, too nervous to speak. Stephanie arrived, 30 minutes late. She walked in wearing a stunning red dress that hugged her figure. Her hair was styled perfectly, and her makeup was flawless. But something was off. She barely smiled when she greeted my parents. Her eyes kept darting to her phone. I walked over and kissed her cheek. "You look amazing." She gave me a tight smile. "Thanks." During dinner, Stephanie seemed distant. My mom asked her about work, and she gave short, clipped answers. My dad tried to make her laugh with a story about our old family dog, but she just nodded politely. I kept glancing at her, trying to catch her eye, but she was somewhere else. Natalie, one of Stephanie's friends, was also at the dinner. She sat next to Stephanie, and the two of them whispered to each other throughout the meal. At one point, Stephanie looked at me with an expression I could not quite read. It made my stomach twist. After we finished eating, everyone moved to the living room. The tree glowed in the corner. Someone put on a playlist of classic Christmas songs. People sipped hot cocoa and wine, chatting in small groups. My heart hammered in my chest. This was it. I caught David's eye, and he gave me a slight nod. He had his phone ready to record. I took a deep breath and stood up. I tapped my glass gently with a spoon. The room quieted. All eyes turned to me. I felt my face flush, but I pushed through. "I want to say something to someone very special tonight." I turned to Stephanie and reached for her hand. She did not pull away, but she did not squeeze back either. Her hand felt limp in mine. I knelt down. The room went completely silent. I could hear the fire crackling, the faint hum of the Christmas lights. I pulled the ring box from my pocket. My hands were trembling so badly I almost dropped it. I opened the box, and the diamond caught the light, sparkling beautifully. I started to speak. My voice was shaky, but I meant every word. "Stephanie, these past 3.5 years with you have been some of the best of my life. I think about all the adventures we have had, the late-night conversations, the way you make me laugh, even when I am stressed. I think about waking up next to you and feeling like the luckiest guy alive. I cannot imagine my future without you in it. I want to spend the rest of my life making you happy. So Stephanie, will you marry me? Everyone held their breath. I saw my mom dab at her eyes with a tissue. Greg was grinning. David had his phone up, capturing the moment. I looked up at Stephanie, my heart in my throat, waiting for her to say yes. But she did not say yes. She looked down at the ring. Her expression shifted from blank to something else, something cold. Her lips curled slightly, not in a smile but in disgust. 5 seconds passed, then 10. The silence stretched unbearably. I was still kneeling, the box open in my hand, confusion flooding through me. Finally she spoke. Her voice was sharp and loud. "Are you serious right now?" I blinked. What? She reached down and plucked the ring from the box, holding it up to the light as if inspecting a piece of trash. "This is what you got me. This pathetic little thing." The room froze. No one moved. No one breathed. I felt my face go hot. "Stephanie, I do not understand." Her voice rose, echoing in the stunned silence. "I have seen engagement rings before, Bryce. Real ones. This is embarrassing. Did you even think about what I deserve?" I tried to find words, but nothing came out. She continued, her tone dripping with contempt. "I have friends whose boyfriends bought them 2-carat diamonds. 3 carats. And you bring me this." She looked around at everyone watching as if seeking their agreement. My mom looked horrified. David's face had gone dark with anger. And then it happened. Stephanie leaned forward, and before I could process what was happening, she spat directly in my face. The warm wetness hit my cheek and dripped down. She threw the ring box on the floor. It clattered against the hardwood. "I cannot believe you thought I would say yes to this. To you and your pathetic, mediocre life." The entire room was paralyzed. My mom gasped. Greg stood up, his fists clenched. David dropped his phone. Stephanie grabbed her purse from the couch, her heels clicking sharply as she stormed toward the door. She turned back one last time. "I am done. Done with you. Done with this joke of a proposal. Find someone who settles for less, because I will not." The door slammed behind her. The echo rang in the silence. I was still on my knees, the wetness on my face slowly running down toward my jaw. My body felt numb. For a moment, I could not move, could not think. Then David was there, pulling me to my feet. He shoved a napkin into my hand. "You okay, man?" I wiped my face slowly, methodically. The room was still silent, everyone staring at me with a mixture of pity and shock. But here is the thing. I was not devastated. I was not heartbroken. I was angry. Furious, actually. The humiliation burned, yes, but underneath it was something sharper. Clarity. I looked at the ring box on the floor, at the people around me who loved me, and I realized something. Stephanie had just done me the biggest favor of my life. My mom came over, tears streaming down her face. She hugged me tightly. My dad put his hand on my shoulder, his jaw set. Greg was pacing, muttering curses under his breath. Natalie, Stephanie's friend, looked pale. She came over to me, wringing her hands. "Bryce, I am so sorry. I had no idea she would do that. She has been different lately, but I never thought." Her voice trailed off. I bent down and picked up the ring. The diamond still sparkled, completely indifferent to what had just happened. I closed the box and slipped it into my pocket. I looked around at my family and friends. "I'm okay," I said. My voice was steady. "Actually, I think I just dodged a bullet." David laughed, a short, sharp sound. "You think Greg came over and clapped me on the back? She is out of her mind, dude. You are way too good for her." I nodded. Something inside me had shifted. The fog I had been living in for the past 6 months lifted. All those little comments, the judgments, the obsession with money and status. I had been ignoring it, making excuses, hoping it would go away. But tonight, Stephanie had shown me exactly who she was, and I was done. The next day was December 25th, Christmas morning. I woke up to 12 text messages from Stephanie. They started apologetic. "I am so sorry. I was just shocked. I did not mean it." Then they turned defensive. "You have to understand. It was a lot of pressure." Then pleading. "Please call me. We need to talk." I read them all and felt nothing. I did not respond. On December 26th, my phone rang constantly. Stephanie called 7 times. I let every call go to voicemail. She left long, rambling messages. "Bryce, please. Let me explain. I was overwhelmed. I did not mean what I said. Can we just talk?" I listened to one voicemail, then deleted the rest. I blocked her number. December 27th. Stephanie tried a different approach. She reached out to Natalie and asked her to be the go-between. Natalie called me that afternoon. "Bryce, Stephanie is devastated. She knows she messed up. She wants another chance." I kept my voice calm. "Tell her it is over. Completely over." Natalie sighed. "She is really struggling right now. She got fired from her job last week. She is in a bad place financially. That VP she was always talking about. He cut her off. I think she realizes now that you were the only person who truly loved her." I felt a flicker of something. Not sympathy exactly. More like confirmation. That is her problem, Natalie. Not mine. She made her choice in front of everyone I care about. There is no coming back from that. Natalie was quiet for a moment. "I understand. I just wanted to try. For what it is worth, I think you are doing the right thing." The days after Christmas blurred together, but I felt clearer than I had in months, maybe years. I did not mope. I did not cry into my pillow or binge-watch sad movies. Instead, I got angry in a productive way. I joined a gym on January 2nd. I started going every morning before work, lifting weights, running on the treadmill, pushing my body until my mind went quiet. I signed up for an advanced coding boot camp to sharpen my skills. I threw myself into work with a focus I had not had before. By February, things started to change. My manager noticed my renewed energy and dedication. I had been working on a major project, and it was going incredibly well. Mid-February, I got called into a meeting. I thought maybe I had done something wrong. Instead, my boss offered me a promotion, senior software engineer, a 20% raise. I accepted on the spot. When I walked out of that office, I felt 10 feet tall. With the raise, I decided to treat myself. I had been driving that old Civic for nearly a decade. It was reliable, but it was time. I bought a new car, not a flashy sports car, just a solid, dependable sedan with modern features. It felt good. Not because I was trying to prove anything to Stephanie, but because I deserved it. I also started dating again. Nothing serious at first. I went on a few dates with women I met through friends or apps. It was nice. I realized how much I had been walking on eggshells with Stephanie. These women were kind, genuine, interested in who I was, not what I could buy them. David and Greg noticed the change in me. "You seem lighter," David said one night over beers. "More like yourself." I clinked my glass against his. "I feel like myself again." Then in March, Stephanie showed up at my office. I was leaving for the day when I saw her standing by the entrance. She looked different, thinner. Her clothes were not as polished. Her eyes were red. When she saw me, she rushed over. "Bryce, please. Just 5 minutes." I stopped. I did not owe her anything, but part of me was curious. "What do you want, Stephanie?" She started crying. Right there on the sidewalk. "I made the biggest mistake of my life. I have been miserable without you. I do not care about the ring or any of that. I just want you back. Please." People were walking past us, glancing over. I kept my voice even. "Stephanie, what you did that night showed me exactly who you are. You humiliated me in front of everyone I love. You spat in my face. Over a ring. Over money." She shook her head frantically. "I know. I know. I was horrible. But I have changed. I realize now what I lost. I was stupid and shallow, and I am so sorry. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I felt nothing. No anger, no love, no sadness. Just emptiness. It is too late. I have moved on. She grabbed my arm. Please, Bryce. Just one more chance. I will do anything. I gently pulled my arm away. I deserve someone who loves me for me, not for what I can give them. You showed me that you cannot be that person. I hope you figure things out, but I cannot be part of your life anymore. I walked away. She called after me, but I did not turn around. When I got to my car, I sat in the driver's seat and exhaled. It felt like the final chapter closing. A week later, I got an email from Stephanie. A long, detailed message listing every reason why we should get back together. She promised she had changed, that she understood now, that she would spend the rest of her life making it up to me. I read it once, then deleted it without responding. Natalie texted me a few days later. She did not ask me to reconsider. She just wanted to give me an update. Stephanie had moved back in with her parents. She could not find a new job. She had maxed out her credit cards trying to maintain her lifestyle, and was now selling designer handbags and shoes to pay off debt. The VP she had been so impressed by married. He had been stringing her along the whole time. When Stephanie's life fell apart, he vanished. I did not feel happy hearing that. I did not take pleasure in her suffering, but I did feel a sense of peace. Karma, maybe. Or just the natural consequences of her choices. Either way, it confirmed what I already knew. Walking away was the right decision. In May, something unexpected happened. My friend Greg invited me to a casual get-together at his place. He mentioned that his girlfriend's coworker was going to be there, a woman named Emma. I almost said no. I was not looking for anything serious. But something made me go. Emma was a school teacher, 3rd grade. She had this warm, easy smile, and a laugh that made everyone around her feel comfortable. We ended up talking for hours that night. She told me about her students, the funny things they said, the challenges of teaching. I told her about my work, my family, even a little about what had happened with Stephanie. She listened without judgment. She did not pity me or act shocked. She just said, "That sounds really painful. But it also sounds like you handled it with a lot of dignity. You deserve better, and you will find it." We started seeing each other. Coffee dates, walks through the park bookstores on rainy afternoons. Emma was different from anyone I had dated before. She did not care that I drove a modest car or lived in a regular apartment. She appreciated the small things. When I cooked her dinner at my place, she raved about it. When I remembered she liked a particular author and bought her a book, she teared up. "You actually listened to me," she said. It broke my heart a little that she found that remarkable. My family loved her immediately. My mom hugged her the first time they met. David pulled me aside and said, "Do not let this one go, man. She is the real deal." I laughed. I know. By summer, I realized I was genuinely happy. Not just okay, not just moving on, but happy. I looked back at that Christmas Eve and saw it differently. Yes, it had been humiliating. Yes, it had hurt. But Stephanie had given me a gift by showing her true self before I made the biggest mistake of my life. If she had said yes that night, I would have married her. And I would have been miserable. Instead, I was free. Free to find someone who valued me. Free to build a life based on real love, not superficial status. I thought about the ring I had saved for the one Stephanie had called pathetic. That ring represented everything good about me. My hard work, my dedication, my genuine desire to build a future with someone. The problem was never the ring. The problem was that I had been offering it to the wrong person. One evening, Emma and I were sitting on my couch watching a movie. She leaned her head on my shoulder. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. I smiled. Just how lucky I am. She looked up at me. I am the lucky one. And she meant it. I could see it in her eyes. That is what real love looks like. Not flashy or expensive. just genuine, steady, and kind. I eventually sold the ring. I used the money to take Emma on a trip to Europe. We spent 2 weeks exploring, creating memories that actually mattered. We walked along the Seine in Paris, ate gelato in Rome, watched the sunset in Santorini. Every moment was perfect, not because it was expensive or Instagram-worthy, but because we were together. I heard through Natalie that Stephanie had moved to another state. I did not ask for details. I did not care. I hoped she learned something from everything that happened. I hoped she found a way to be happy without needing to validate herself through material things. But that was not my problem anymore. Now, as another Christmas approaches, I find myself thinking about that night a year ago. I am sitting in my parents' living room again. The same tree, the same lights, the same smell of gingerbread. But everything is different. Emma is next to me laughing at one of my dad's terrible jokes. My mom keeps squeezing my hand and smiling. David gives me a knowing look. This is what happiness feels like. This is what I was supposed to have all along. Sometimes the worst moment of your life is actually the beginning of your best life. That is what I learned. When Stephanie spat in my face and walked out, she set me free. She forced me to see what I had been ignoring. And in doing so, she cleared the path for something real, something better, something true. I am grateful it happened the way it did. I am grateful I did not marry her. I am grateful for every painful moment because it led me here. To this living room, to this woman beside me, to this life I am building. A life based on respect, kindness, and genuine love. Not on the size of a diamond or the brand of a car, but on the content of character and the warmth of connection. And now I know what real love looks like. It was worth the wait. It was worth the humiliation. It was worth everything. Because the right person does not care about what you can buy them. They care about who you are. And that makes all the difference. So here is my question for you. Have you ever had a moment that felt like the end of the world but turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to you? Drop your story in the comments. I would love to hear it. And if this story resonated with you, hit that like button. Subscribe if you have not already, because I will be sharing more real-life stories like this one. Share this with someone who needs to hear that sometimes rejection is protection. Sometimes the person who walks away is doing you a favor. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that you deserve someone who sees your worth. And to everyone out there searching for real love, keep going. It is out there, and it is worth the wait. Happy holidays, everyone. May your next chapter be filled with people who truly value you.